Yes, people, welcome back to another video. John Sinclair TV back again this evening on a Thursday Jubilee Day. I hope you're having a good time and having fun. And I've got my guest with me today, first timer, Craig. Craigie B. Big up to you, Craig.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, John. And it's a pleasure to be on there to discuss a very, very special man for both clubs.
Thank you very much indeed for coming on, and I'm really enjoying it. And it's great to get a collab as well from a fan outside of Newcastle fans like Bournemouth, also Tottenham, Man United, and I think it's great. And first of all, as well, congratulations on your promotion as well, by the way.
Thank you so much. I was there for that game against Nottingham Forest. I was there on the pitch. It was a very edgy game for a good 80 minutes. We could have gone 1-0 down. Sam Surridge hit the crossbar, but we managed the game well, and that's what is good about Parker's teams, is he does seem to actually get the right results against the teams around us. We have actually got the best record out of any of those top six in the Championship from last season against teams around us. So, and that 83rd minute goal, it was wonderful. Brilliant pass from Billing to Kiefer Moore. He just turned his man, put it straight into the bottom hand corner, and the rest is history. And the celebrations on my channel, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Big up, my guy. Big up, and congratulations as well. And it's good to see Bournemouth back in the Premier League. Guys, if you like the video, like what you see, then please like, subscribe, and super chat. If you click on the super chat, give what you can. Become a member as well for 99p a month. It's out there. The link, become a member, is on top of the chat as well, which is brilliant. 31 people watching already. Thank you very much indeed, people, as well. We're going to talk about Eddie Howe. His time at Bournemouth, Burnley, and Newcastle as well. Any questions for Craig, feel free to do so as well. Also, I'm going to put out there as well, people. Is Eddie Howe a big enough manager, a big enough name manager to attract the top players in Newcastle United? I'll put it out there. I'm an Eddie Howe fan, but I'll put it out there. Is he big enough? So I'm going to go for the comments straight away. Before you can talk about Eddie, big up to Keith, by the way. Eddie would never beat Alex. He'd be better than that the beaten Warsaw, Bobbin, King, Kev. I believe if given the right players and time to bring them on the way he wants. And Keith also added as well, I also think there will be a silver at a toon this season, one of the cups and possibly a top 6 place. But if not, fight hard and play hard just to keep the fans happy. Keith, thanks so much indeed for that, pal. Big up to now, by the way. Hope you're okay. Great. Hope you're good. Pick up the Tom. Do you think Hugo Ekiteke will sign for us, John? According to the Daily Express, right? I mean, they say that he's got no intention signing for Newcastle United, but the Daily Sunday Express, in my opinion, it's just a puppet journal paper, by the way. Take notes of that. Big up to Andy B, by the way. Hope you're okay. Any questions to Craig? Do fire away. Big up to Gary D. Yes, Gary. Love that. Where have you been, Gary? I haven't seen you for a long time. But big up to you, mate. Big up to Louis Van. Hope you're okay, mate. Absolutely great. And big up to Beer. Is the £100 into the food bank zones going to be cash or check? It'd be pure cash. 100% cash, by the way. And I'm just going to go for as well, because the StreamYard is playing up, by the way. So we keep it too long. Big up to Davey D. Good evening to you, my guy. Big up to Gareth. Looking forward to this show. Thanks so much indeed. Well done to Bournemouth. That's a Niall. How kind is Niall, by the way. Big up to Stu, my guy. Hope you care. Hope you're the lads. Hope you're having a good Jubilee in your wife and family as well. Big up to Roy from Norway. And we've got one from here from good evening to you as well, mate. And now I was telling you to like, subscribe, and social media as well. Big up to Gav as well. Big up to you, mate. Hope you're okay. I want to go on, but I will get you on, mate. Don't worry about that, mate. But I tell you. So big up to now he wants to come on my show, by the way. He's been on a couple of times, by the way. And big up to Geordie Jack, by the way. I don't get these fans already wanting a new manager. He will go with the club. You know what it is, mate? You're absolutely right, mate. I totally agree, because Eddie Howe, I want to hear for the next 10 years. Yeah, unless it's a big name. But Eddie Howe is with us, by the way. And big up to Lenny Quinn, by the way. Lenny, please smash the subscribe button, mate. If you can, that'd be fantastic. Thank you so much. He's got Gamarish, did he? He did, absolutely. I'll just put it out there, mate. Do you know what I mean? I'll just put it out there, just asking people as well. And There you go. But I'm an Eddie Howe fan, so don't panic, mate. But thanks for that anyway. Big up to you, bro. And looking forward to the show. Good lad, good lad. Love you lots, man. Big up to even Mark, your case. I sent hi to Mark. The man from Falcon. Please smash the subscribe, mate. It's your first time, I think. Once it is done with Big Jordan, will bring us players in. Yeah, absolutely. Is that StreamYard being a pain again, John? I brought it up. Yes, you did. And it's still playing up, mate, by the way. Even John for Mansell, hope you're okay. Big up to good Mansell. Absolutely canny. Gordon Good, great himself. Big up to Mason, by the way. Love you, my guy. Love yous, man. And Stefan, big up to Stefan. Ekateki, Botman, Shakosha, not Henderson, too expensive. Felipe, defender. Lazio, Paqueta, all's fine. Cool. Anyone to do. Big up to you, Lookman. Big up to you, Back Conte. Must be a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Thinks unfair impression on how any manager compare them to Sir Alex. It's also disrespectful to Sir Alex. Well, I had to ask the question, mate, but it is what it is. Don't keep it too long. Let's just say that how could be as good as KK and Sir Bobby was for us. The answer is 100% yes. Gary D. I'll be watching the shows, John. Just not to put any comments up, mate. That's fair enough. Totally understand, mate. Since Chuck and Mark Hughes for a couple of seasons, still moving to big name manager. Yep, that's true. Eddie will be there for years and years and years. Right, before we go on to more comments, I've got Luke in the house as well. Big up to you, Luke, by the way. Hope you find AJ. Eddie needs the time and tools like Alex was given. Who knows? Absolutely. And F said hi to Luca. Big up to Geordie. Hope you can. Now for my Lingard, I don't want him. I was at Dincourt with the Cherries to beat Greensbay. Took me so we lived that at the time. Big up there from Luke again. I heard today that Botman's just considered Milan or the Toon, and that is it. It's still considered Milan, by the way. Let's be real. Lacazette is gone. That's been confirmed. And good, everybody. Luca, love you lots, mate. Right, we're going to talk about Eddie Howe. Right, we're going to talk about his career, starting with Bournemouth when he first came with Bournemouth in the third division. As a Bournemouth fan, when he came in, right, was he the right guy for Bournemouth? Bearing in mind, he was a young manager.
Well, Eddie had a career with our club over two spells. So he was at Bournemouth for a period of time. He played 200 games between 1994 and 2002. And after that, he made the move, in fact, with Harry Redknapp to Portsmouth. He got injured in his first game there and only ever made one other appearance. In the end, he was sent back on loan to the club, and then using a bit of an Eddie fund, we actually managed to buy him back. It was 21,000, if I'm right in thinking, at the time, where he played between 2004 and 2007 permanently. Then, unfortunately, due to a knee injury, which was reoccurring throughout his career, he gave up playing and took up a job in the backroom staff. At the time when Eddie took over, we were in dire straits. We was on minus 17 points. If anybody is really interested in that early story of when Eddie took over and that season, there's a great video called Minus 17 on the AFC Bournemouth official channel. And he took over from Jimmy Quinn. It was on the last day of 2008. The club were just recently being beaten by Blythe Spartans, of all teams. And Jimmy Quinn was taking it down. If we went down, because we'd had bailiffs taking all the goods from the club's store, and then Jeff Mostyn having to wrestle those back, I don't think we would have existed. So Eddie come in. He was really the only option. To be fair, he was a former player. He had his heart in the club. He'd been here. He was born in Amersham, but moved to a place called Verwood, which is just a little bit further east of Bournemouth. When he was about 2 years old, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And Eddie transformed that side. He brought in some players on with what he could. And one of the big players he brought in was a guy called Steve Fletcher. Now, Steve Fletcher, for the viewer who did go to that Grimsby game, will know he was the one that scored that goal to keep us in the Football League. Prior to that, he was on. He was he was in non-league. Steve Fletcher with Crawley Town, and Eddie called him back and said, "Look, I want you back." In fact, I've got an interview on my channel which actually goes into that whole conversation of when Eddie reapproached Steve Fletcher. The following season, Eddie managed to get us promoted to League One, which was a tremendous achievement considering where we had been the previous year. He then decided he was going to go to Burnley, and during that time, I think he did a really good job at Burnley, in fact. And, it'd be quite interesting to hear everybody's thoughts as well, because during that spell, he bought in players for Burnley like Jay Rodriguez, like Danny Ings, who would then gradually, under Sean Dyche, become, top level players when the club were promoted. For personal reasons, I don't think he liked it up in Burnley. I think he realised it was a bit of a mistake. He decided to drop down a division and come back to Dean Court, where he just picked up from where he left off. At this point, he left the early part of 2011. Lee Bradbury come in and then managed to steer the club into the playoff semi-finals. We were beaten by Huddersfield at that point, who eventually went on to beat Swindon in the final. The following season, Bradbury left and was replaced by a gentleman called Paul Groves. And Groves did a terrible job, really put us into the bottom four in League One. And it looked like another really, really difficult task for Eddie to turn around. He turned up. There was Steve Cook, who is an absolute legend at this club. Lee Bradbury brought him in from Brighton, and Paul Groves chose not to play him. And Cookie started the game against Scunthorpe and never looked back. Never ever looked back, and that was because of what Eddie ingrained into his players. Steve Cook was a hungry, determined player, and he transformed this club again for the second time. I know, as a matter of fact, he was always the first one in at Dean Court. He normally got in about 6 o'clock in the morning, believe it or not, got everything set up, and then was the last one to leave. So he put in the hours. He had a great team behind him. Jason Tyndall, who, of course, is at Newcastle. You got Simon Weatherston, Stephen Purchase, again at Newcastle. Fletcher decided to take up a coaching role. He's still at the club, as well as a couple of other people that were part and paramount to Eddie's team. And he managed from that terrible position, and I believe, if I remember correctly, it was about November time in 2012. 2011, 2012. Just trying to think of the dates right now. He managed to get us promoted. In fact, we looked like we was going to actually win the league until the last game of the season, when we were pipped to the post by Doncaster Rovers. He took us into the Championship. We had a good start, slipped back a bit, but then had a decent enough finish as well. And that really was the impetus for what was going to happen next. Never in my wildest dreams did I believe that he was going to get us into the Premier League. I thought he was brilliant. He'd even got us into the Championship, because we're a small team. We've got the smallest ground probably in the Championship at that time, if I remember correctly, as well. And I've interviewed Steve Cook as well, and I asked him the question. I said, did you believe at the start of the season this was going to happen? And his answer was really that Eddie made them believe. He made them into a team who gelled together. If you imagine the team that we had the players like Simon Francis, who had been nowhere really off, with it earlier in his career. He'd been nowhere. Steve Cook, who had been cast out from Brighton, hadn't got the run with Paul Groves. If Paul Groves had stayed on board, he'd probably have been off at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You had Mark Pugh, who we signed from Hereford United. The best bit of business that I think Eddie actually did when he was here was a player called Harry Arter, who a lot of people will remember from our first year in the Premier League. He was signed from Woking for 40,000, and it was, and he did outstanding. It did outstanding. Harry Arter didn't do anything really beforehand. He hasn't really done anything since, and that's because Eddie built them as a team. Managed to get us promoted. Got a 3-0 win against Bolton to get into the Premier League. Then it was a bit of a role reversal of what happened in League One. It looked like the Championship title was going to Vicarage Road, and they actually drew. I think it was against Sheffield Wednesday. They drew against, and we beat Charlton to lift the title. And when we got into the Premier League, he didn't change anything. We defied the odds. We were playing with those same players. Yes, we signed Josh King. We did make the odd signings here or there. We had Ryan Fraser, Matt Ritchie, Callum Wilson, those players that had got us out of the Championship and in some cases out of League One under Eddie. And they were playing in the Premier League, beating teams. Our first win in the Premier League was against West Ham. And, we managed to actually, he managed to transform this club. I noticed earlier on, somebody mentioned Jason Tindall, a great coach, and he is. He's an absolutely fantastic coach. Is he a manager? We found out later on. Probably not a manager. Probably works better under Eddie. But what Eddie's done here is phenomenal. I think in that last season, if Project Restart didn't happen, I think we would have stayed up. We'd just drawn against Chelsea. We were 1-0 up against Liverpool. Goal through Callum Wilson. We got pegged back. Of course, they were the eventual champions, 2-1. I think the wheels come off after that. One man that I think Eddie was a little bit let down by was Wee Man, as we called him at the time. I won't give you his name that we call him now, but Ryan Fraser. I think he was let down by him. He decided he was wanting a move away from the club at the end of the season, and therefore he didn't want to play. I think he was badly advised by his agent. In fact, I brought that up again in another interview I did with a gentleman called Andy Banal, who was David Beckham's agent. And his view was that he was badly advised, and what he's done here is phenomenal. He's got the freedom of Bournemouth, and we can't thank Eddie enough. And we'd love to have him back at one point, but I think Eddie's sights are probably a little bit higher now, unless we do something ridiculous.
Absolutely. Got some comments in, by the way. John, could I ask quick if you remember when Eddie snubbed Celtic? I believe Celtic at the time wouldn't allow him to bring his own backroom staff, please, mate. And we spoke about it on the other channel, and now I want to know that. What was the problem there?
I believe Eddie didn't want to go to Celtic because he wasn't wanting to go into the Scottish Premier League. It's a bit of a close shot. There's only 2 teams that could win it. Yes, he could carry, a lot of silverware at the end of each season. He'd probably get the Scottish Cup. He'd probably get the Scottish Premier League. However, it's not a competition. Eddie Howe is somebody who's driven by defying the odds, like he did at Bournemouth, like he did last season as well at Newcastle when Steve Bruce had left the club in a terrible position, I should say, and Eddie managed to turn it completely around. I think that was the main reason. The other reason is probably the similar sort of view to why he didn't stay at Burnley, is that for personal reasons, he grew up local to Bournemouth. He grew up just down the road in Verwood. He's originally from near High Wycombe, and I don't think Burnley was the right place for him. Newcastle is different. It's a thriving city. It's an attractive proposition. It's an opportunity for him. The only other club I thought, when a job come up there, that he might go to is Everton, because believe it or not, he was an Everton fan growing up. That was the only other club I thought that he'd go for. But as soon as Newcastle showed their interest, I think it made sense for him to move to Newcastle, even though I thought at the time, is this a little bit of a poison chalice? Is this job going to be too difficult because of the state Bruce had left it in? He's a good manager, don't get me wrong. Eddie Howe is a good manager, but I thought maybe he'd picked a job where he was going to be right up against it to keep a club in the Premier League, and might have had to rebuild in the Championship. But what he's done is, well, I didn't doubt him. I just thought that Bruce had left Newcastle in just such a sorry state.
He did, didn't he? Absolutely shocking. I mean, he should have got sacked last year and the season before that. 2 wins in 22. Absolutely shocking. Should have gone. But, and come on to Steve in a bit. I think all the problem for next decade will be the FA coming in to try and pinch Eddie Howe for England. That's not the case. And Fox is chatting to Jordy. Eddie Howe's created his own wave, and it's going to be a fantastic ride. Just so strapping. Mansell, absolutely agree. It'll be a legend if he wins us a cup. Big up to Brian. Rumour has it we're still negotiating Matt Target. Come on, Matty, please stay. We grow on him. I promise. Big up to Billy, by the way. Billy, right? He's always on the Toon Reviews channel. He comes to mind sometimes, yeah. He's a great guy. Love him to bits, by the way. And he said, Eddie Howe's in a bit of drunk, like the other fella. However, on a magic scale, 3 guys won a European trophy and busted off Monopoly by Eddie's age now. That is true. Very, very true. And I've got some more comments flying in as well. I mean, this is problems of, if I don't read them out, I do apologise, people. So, spare with us, by the way. Has anyone seen Warm Man? The NUT song is brilliant. Crackers Ride Up. I've listened to it. It's brilliant, by the way. Ryan Fraser didn't want to play for Scotland. Matt Ritchie was another one who turned his back on the Scotland at the time. Wow, not good. Disgrace for what Fraser did, to be fair. Bournemouth made him the player he is today. I think Foxy is right, though, Craig.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of bitterness towards Ryan Fraser, and I've met Ryan on a number of occasions. He's a really down-to-earth lad. I don't believe it was all his own doing. I think a lot of it was directed by agents, and agents saying, look, the club that was being mentioned at the time was Arsenal. And I think he literally thought, well, I don't want to get injured because it might scupper my chances of going there. In the end, he got his big move to Newcastle, and I think it was just disappointing how it all ended. And I think Eddie felt a bit let down. And I know we've discussed this as well, John. I was a bit sceptical when Eddie got the job at Newcastle. I thought, well, what's going to happen to Ryan? Because in that Everton win, that last game of the season, the last time we were in the Premier League, of course, it was Project Restart. There was no fans in the stadium. I was watching it on TV, and Eddie's whole mood was very dejected, very... I think he thought, I've done everything I can here to actually keep this club up. And I think that's why he decided that he needed a break. He looked tired. He did look tired. But it was a strange season Very, very strange season. We could say about Hawkeye, if Hawkeye hadn't have happened,
Hmm.
we would have stayed up. Yeah, that's very true. But at the same time, if Ryan Fraser had decided he was going to play for us in those 9 games, I personally think Ryan Fraser is a player who can change games. We had some terrible results after Project Restart. If you remember, you beat us as well
4-1.
during that time. Four
Sorry.
one, yeah. No, that's all right. To be honest, we weren't at the races that day. Probably the worst result of the lot was against Crystal Palace, where I don't think they were particularly that great, but we just didn't turn up. And I think we were a little bit behind because of everything else going on behind the scenes. Ryan Fraser wasn't the only one. I think Josh King let the side down as well towards the end of that season, and he subsequently let the side down during the first season in the Championship. Um, but I think Eddie would. I'm pleased that Eddie has got made up with Ryan.
Yeah.
He's still a really really good player. He would be an asset for any team in the Premier League, including us. I don't think we'd have him back because of what he's done, but at the same time, it's good that he's got back on good terms with Ryan, and for Newcastle's sake.
Yeah, good words there, Craig. Good words. I'm going to go for the comments, by the way. What excellent review, mate. Put over brilliant. Aston Shearer. To you, Craig.
Thank
Did
you.
he not leave Burnley due missing this mum and being homesick? I mean, I think he wasn't settled up there, by the way. But also, he wanted to come back south as well. So that's what it is. We come to one in a bit. Can you see a cup run? Can you see a cup in his time at the Toon? I believe so. Can you see a cup run in there at Newcastle under his leadership?
It's a funny one because Eddie, during his time here at Bournemouth, and especially in the Premier League years, didn't really go for cup runs. We had defeats. I believe it was Wigan that we was beaten by in one season. He would, he would favour the Premier League and getting higher up the table rather than a cup run. We had a couple of decent runs in the Carabao Cup, but personally, I think he'll be looking and thinking, right, okay, I want to build a side who can get me European football. And I think that's what his number one priority will be. Whether or not, he will think, well, I can do that through a cup run, winning the trophy. I'm not sure, but I think his number one priority is getting Newcastle up the Premier League, breaking that top four, and going from there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to take time. I mean, I know you said you're going to get third next season, didn't you? Sort of thing, but you sticking by that. But wow. So Craig reckons Newcastle is going to finish third next season in the Premier League. We're going to pin it up as well.
Yeah.
I can see
well, personally, I think what Eddie will do is, and he'll do what he did at Bournemouth, which is he will make sensible signings. They might not be the marquee signings. They're not going to be always like Gamares. They're not going to be signings that you're going to go, right, okay, that's an amazing player to bring in. But he'll do things and make sensible moves for people. I wouldn't be surprised if he brings in somebody who's a bit of an older head, in the defence, but also somebody who younger players can learn off. And that is one of the things he's done so well at Bournemouth. So, for example, we had Danjuma here. Again, a fantastic player. Went to Villarreal. We couldn't keep hold of him. He first season in the Championship, he absolutely tore it up. he was a Premier League player, played in the Championship. You could tell he was way better than what he was coming up against, and he had he he was really rewarded for that. With that move to Villarreal, fair play to him, but that's the whole point with Eddie Howe. We've got players there like Jordan Zamora, Jaden Anthony, Gavin Kilkenny,
Mm-hmm.
and those players are learning off the likes of Steve Cook, the
Yeah.
Simon Francises,
Yeah.
and that's how he builds. He's a very good manager with growing players. So taking a player that might not have played much somewhere else. So
Mm-hmm.
let's take Steve Cook for example.
Yeah.
As soon as Steve Cook, I know he wasn't an Eddie signing, but when Eddie took over, Eddie gave
Yeah.
Steve Cook his opportunity to really shine, to make that position his own, and the support that he got. If I cast my mind back to that Steve Cook that played in that Scunthorpe game, to the Steve Cook that played his last game for us and played in the playoff final for
Mm.
Nottingham Forest,
Yeah, man.
they're completely different players, and that's because Eddie ingrained it into them how to actually be aware
Mm-hmm.
and how to read the game as well. He was fantastic in his actual playing career at doing that, and he's actually passed that on to individuals like the Cooks, like the Arters, like the
Yeah.
Pews, who never did anything beforehand, and he's transformed their careers.
Yeah, absolutely. You got experience there, Steve Francis, Steve Cook, and your football club is just going through it's like a family. Bournemouth, by the way, it's a family club, and if you have a family club, it goes a long way. Not individuals like PSG and anything like that, which is the functional clubs as well. Big up to Ryan, by the way, from Canada, great guy. Craig, what do you think of Jefferson Lerma?
Oh, Jefferson Lerma's a fantastic player. He's very, very strong. He's again a player that's got a lot of awareness. If you take his first game for us
Mhm.
and to where he is now, he's got a lot of awareness. I think he's a bit picked on in the championship. He did get quite a few red cards that I don't think would wash in the Premier League. It would go to VAR, and I think they would be, ruled off as the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Um, but he's very, very talented. He knows exactly where everybody is. He's got a good pass. He scored quite a few goals for us as well. He's a lovely guy as well. Jefferson Lerma is an absolutely lovely guy. He's not fond of Watford. I'll say that.
Mhm.
but who is? Who is?
Yeah, man.
But yeah, he's brilliant to have around the dressing room as well. Another man that I've met on a number of occasions, and he's good fun. He's good fun. He's held up the shirts with local man is promoted, and
Yeah.
that actually went back to something years ago where the local man is pleased, and then Watford did that as well, and then he's done that, and of course Watford fans aren't particularly happy because he swapped places with them.
Wow, I definitely don't think they are happy at all, by the way. Do you know what I mean? But hey ho. Remember, Fergie would have been sacked in the steered age when, way before he won his first trophy, he got the time support from Martin Edwards, that Woodward and Glazers, who never given it. That's very true, Billy, by the way. Big up to Annie, by the way. He's only 14, Bristol City fan. He's saying, Craig, do us a favour, sell Lloyd Kelly 30 million quid and give us a fair chunk through the sell on close. Bristol City are desperate for money, by the way. And how can you see? How West Brom doing a new season with Boosie? For me, I hope he gets sacked. I mean, West Brom as well. I think he gets
West
sacked.
Brom are quite an interesting one actually,
They are.
because they are they really tailed off under Vela and Ishmael last season. I had them as I predicted them last season to finish as champions, and in the early stages of the season, they looked like they had that in them. Ishmael was very, very direct. He brought Alex Mowat with him to West Brom. and unfortunately for him, the wheels fell off and he couldn't turn it around in time. Steve Bruce has gone there, and although he's got a couple of results, he's it just seems like a downward trajectory.
Yeah.
He brought in Andy Carroll, for example, who was playing at Reading previously, and to be fair, Andy Carroll didn't really seem to do much at Reading. He didn't really seem to do much at West Brom apart from score against us. Um, I think Bruce is going to struggle there, and especially considering now, if you have a look at West Brom and the sort of backroom staff they've brought in a gentleman called Ron Gourlay, and Ron Gourlay was the man who was and who has been tarred with by Reading fans as part of their demise. He's the man who has spent ridiculous amounts of money on players that aren't very good, and that's why they've ended up where they are. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ron Gourlay does the same for Bruce. Says, right, you decide who you want to get, negotiates ridiculous amounts. And if Bruce doesn't sign the right players, they're probably going to end up in the same sort of boat as Reading, Derby, and Sheffield Wednesday, and all that little lot that seem to be big sides, but just lurking down the bottom of the Championship and sometimes even dropping into League One.
Yep, I have to agree. I'll have to agree. If he's there, they should have sacked him at the end of the season. Let's be real, and hopefully get someone decent like a Sean Dyche. But you chat about go for that in a bit. I've got so many comments. I'm going to go for the comments, and then what we're going to do, we're going to go back to Steve Bruce. They're going to go on to Newcastle as well with Eddie, and also we're going to talk about the Saudis as well. I've got a question for you as well, like I do when we guess as well. Let's look at this one here. I'll read that one in a minute because I've pushed in. And it was a mistake about Max Gradle. Max Gradle, that's from Mason, if I could find him. Read that one. How do you think do Bruce read that? Eddie Howe's performance is permanent, much more cutthroat business. Billy, you're right. Do you think Max Gradle was a big mistake by signing him? That's from Mason.
Don't get me wrong. Not all of Eddie's signings have actually worked out. Max Gradle had, the quality, and you could see the talent that he brought to the side. I just don't think he was the right fit for Eddie. And Eddie eventually moved him on fairly sharpish. There's been players which, I can pick out a couple of names of players that didn't really make the cut that Eddie brought in. Conor Mahoney, for one, looked like he was going to be a real talent, and he didn't do anything. Jordan Ibe, unfortunately, went a little bit off the rails. Harry Arter, in fact, I say, he was a great signing. He got us up to that level after about the third season in the Premier League. I think his head went a little bit. There was reasons behind that, I think, without sounding harsh. There's been players that he's brought in that have done a job but wouldn't do a job at the higher level. So the likes of Jan Kermorgant, who got a couple of games in the Premier League but didn't actually, feature, that much, and was eventually moved on. You've had players like Tequila Rante. Again, another player who, did a job in the Championship, but, didn't. And I think Eddie will probably bring a couple of those players into Newcastle, knowing that there's a limit to them. But they'll be backup players that, if there's an injury, it's somebody who is reliable, dependable. He doesn't really get much wrong. I think the biggest mistake he made was bringing in Jordan Ibe. Jordan Ibe, in fact, had tons of quality. Had tons and tons and tons of quality. Very skillful player, but you could tell that he didn't really listen to Eddie. There was plenty of points when you thought, Jordan, just pass it. pass it. There's somebody else in a better position. You've got Callum Wilson beside you, and you're trying to take on about 3 different players. That was
Yeah,
Jordan Ibe. That was Jordan
yeah.
Ibe.
You paid a lot of money for that guy, and wow, it just hasn't worked out at all. Wow,
No.
big money,
But then
big money.
again, on the spin side as well, John, have a look at the players that we did, buy for small amounts and sold on. So, for example, Callum Wilson from Coventry, 3 million, and we sold him to yourselves for a hefty profit. We had Josh King, again, another player who, I know he tailed off at the end, but he was well worth the money that we signed him for from Blackburn. Nathan Ake is a big one, big money signing.
Yeah.
And we sold him to Man City for 43 million, so pretty much doubled what we actually paid for him. And then you have got the likes of Arnaut Danjuma, a player that we got for fairly cheap, and we sold him to Villarreal for a ridiculous amount. It's a shame we didn't ever really see him under Eddie Howe because of his injuries, but that's what Eddie Howe brings. Is he brings developing players on board, builds them up, and then sells them on at a good profit. And that's what he'll do at Newcastle with some of the fringe players. But he's now got a team who don't need to worry about selling players.
Absolutely, we don't need to because we're just club in the world, and we just spend the money as well. So you're right there. So no worries there. Just got a few comments. So I'm going to read all these comments out till I get to the end, and then I've gone to Newcastle Defo. Question from Niall. He asked about Ryan Christie as well. We said it's a good player as well for Bournemouth. How's he doing? Etc. We'll talk him in a bit. Big up to Luca. Shout out to Luca, by the way. Do follow us his YouTube, Luca AFC, and he's a great guy as well. Eddie years in the riding list has made him strong and Eddie with trust. Big shout out to Luca. Yes, big shout out to Devils United as well. Macy just got 1K on the subscribers list. Big up to Macy. Love her a bit. She's on me show on a Tuesday night on 7 o'clock. I'm hoping 7 next season. Might be the only time we finish low enough to qualify for the Europa's conference. Shout out to a fellow host on Tuesday, Macy. Yes, I said that, and she's amazing. And big up to Mohammed, even to you, mate. Newcastle should sign a striker yesterday already, but that's going to take time. The window's going to open in a couple of years' time. Frank Dion wants Champions League football rather than going to Man City or Chelsea or Bayern or PSG, not Man U, with our Champions League football. Cool. Patience, Mohammed. Exactly. I'm just going to go for as well. I'll read your comments in a minute because I'm just flying out as well. Big up to Callum. Is Craig worried about Eddie taking any Bournemouth players in the summer?
Yeah, I could, and to be honest, when Eddie Howe, was appointed by Newcastle last season, I thought that he might look at somebody like Jordan Zamora. Zamora is a left back, and he's an absolutely fantastic talent. He's a youngster.
Yeah.
He's got so much quality. He will play for a top floor team. I believe Newcastle will eventually break into that top 4, and I would not be surprised, considering he was a player that Eddie bought in. That I personally think that we would have to fight hammer and tong to keep him on board. Because he's that good, and I think Eddie knows that. Jaden Anthony is another one that he might look at. I don't think he's ready for the Premier League just yet, but again, under the stewardship of Eddie Howe, a lot of our players back when we were promoted the first time around had never played in the Premier League. It was a complete unknown, and I think that's why if Eddie went for somebody like Jaden Anthony and said, right, Jaden, come with me to Newcastle, you might not see much of him for the first year, but in the background there, he'll be getting better and better and better and better to a point when he could break in. And that's, I would not be surprised. But I reckon it'll be the younger players Lloyd Kelly might be another one. I don't think Lloyd Kelly would be for sale at any price.
Ryan Christie,
Mainly.
Ryan Christie called to now.
I don't think Christie would. I don't think Christie would. I think Christie has been fantastic for us since he joined, but he's on a longish contract here. He's not been under the influence of Eddie previously. I think we'd probably keep Christie. If we go down, that's a whole different scenario. Whole different scenario. And that's the worst case scenario, because I think we know that we wouldn't be able to keep Zamora. We know we wouldn't be able to keep Anthony. We know that we wouldn't be able to keep Solanke. And that's, it's a bit of a proposition that could be quite scary, that.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Craig, Andy Carroll was brought in by Ishmael after Dad got injured. Carroll's excellent for Reading and scored goals that kept him above the line for a long, long time. And big up to Mason, by the way. What did you thought of Tuan Mings when he was at Bournemouth? And Iturbi was a shocker. Thankfully, it was only a loan deal. So Iturbi wasn't great because he came from Roma, by the way. And I watched him. He's a good player, but the Premiership caught him out a wee bit. But going back to Tyrone Mings, he's been linked to us, by the way. 30 million quid. No thanks.
Tyrone Mings was, he didn't really get that much of a run out under Eddie. He was mainly in the cup games. When he was called upon, he was good. He was a good player. But he would have struggled to get into that squad. We had Frano, we had Smithy, we had Ake and Steve Cook at the back. And to be honest, those players were pretty much ever present throughout our time. And I think Tyrone Mings, when he was called upon because of suspension or because of an injury to that back four, I think he did well. I don't think he did badly at all. He's come on leaps and bounds at Villa. And, again, he's another player that I think Eddie would have been working with in the background. He's a very tall lad. He's strong. And I think, I think he would be, a great signing for Newcastle. Again, I think he would need to be viewed as maybe a backup option or somebody in rotation. I wouldn't say that he would be. I think there's better options out there for Newcastle considering the money you've got.
Yeah. That's a very good shout there, sort of thing. But I wouldn't touch him. I wouldn't pay him that time. There's no way. Him and the cells at the back. It's got to be a joke, honestly, man. It won't happen anytime soon. We'd be relegated. I doubt it, but not good defence there. What do you think of Burke? The keeper, he was at Bournemouth. What keeper he was at Celtic and Legia Warsaw, to name a few teams.
Oh, he was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding goalkeeper. We've been blessed with good goalkeepers, to be honest. We had Aaron Ramsdale. Mark Travers is a great goalkeeper. I think Boruc was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant that season. He come on loan from Southampton, then we signed him permanently. He's a man mountain. He's a man mountain, and he's a good keeper to have around. I think a lot of players probably learned quite a lot off him as well. He's probably somebody who isn't really mentioned that much, but deserves all the praise in the world because of how good he was. I think he probably a little bit undervalued by us, but he was an outstanding goalkeeper.
Yes, I could not agree. I could not disagree with you there. He was brilliant, by the way. Do you believe I can move on from Man City? Yes, he will. I think he'll be gone in the summer. Where you go to, I don't know if you linked to him, by the way. Samura ripped us apart at Ashton Gate. From all accounts, he did. Eddie Howe's very good manager. I remember listening to Peace Farmers training session, and he has very good ideas. My only concern is, can he change it up when needed? And that's from Talk MU. Can you hit the subscribe button, please, mate? If you can, that'd be fantastic. Thank you so much indeed. What's your take on that one?
Yes, he can. Yeah, he can. Yeah, I think Eddie has got a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. If something needs to be changed, he will change it. Look at the result that we got against Liverpool, the 4-3 game. In fact, it's up on the AFC Bournemouth channel as well. It was put up during the lockdown period. I would I would suggest any Newcastle fan that thinks, right, can he actually mix it up? And if something starts to go a little bit wrong, watches that game and see how our whole shape changed against a team which is one of the best in England at the time as well. So, well, still is. But how the whole shape of the team was changed to actually get that result, it's phenomenal. He can, if you're behind in a game, he's very patient and he will make the changes that sometimes watching Eddie Howe from the stand, I thought, is that the right change? But you should never doubt him because he 9 times out of 10 he gets it right.
Absolutely. We're going to talk a bit about Newcastle, by the way. I'm sure we've got more Bournemouth questions. Going straight to Newcastle questions, by the way. Yeah, like I said, please like, subscribe, and share this content, please. Thank you so much indeed. If you'd like to become a member, the link is on top of the chat. And also, if you'd like to do super chats, then you know exactly what you do. Then just give what you can, and be amazing. Thank you much indeed. We'll talk about Newcastle. I mean, about the Saudis bought Newcastle United way back in October, right? And do you think, have you got any problems from a Bournemouth fan, right, looking in, saying that Newcastle United were right to be bought out by the Saudis? As a fan, how did you feel about Newcastle? About it?
To be honest, it's, I don't ever really like to get too much involved with the buyouts of particular clubs. We've had Abramovich at Chelsea, who has splashed the cash and of course has had to sell the club recently as well. You've had teams up and down the divisions. Birmingham City is an interesting one as well, where they were bought out by somebody from China who didn't really, who ended up in prison, I believe. And so I don't really get to buy too much into it. Is it right? I can't say. You look at all. You look at all the teams up and down the divisions. I wouldn't like to say one way or another. They say about Saudi Arabia's human rights crimes. These people are potentially not linked to that. Right. These people are potentially not linked to that. I don't know their backgrounds, and I'm sure not many people do. But why shouldn't they buy a football club if they've got the money to actually invest in that football club? Why shouldn't they buy a football club if it is their own earned money? Fair enough. You've had nightmare situations throughout the leagues. We're owned by a Russian owner. It's all his earned money. There was people flagging up on Twitter and saying, well, is he going to have to sell the club? Is he going to be subject to sanction? No, it's all his own money. He's earned all his money. Of course, Abramovich had links, which therefore meant that there was different rules. Again, I wouldn't get too much into that. You look at all the divisions. You look at, mentioned them, Reading. They were bought out last time they were in the Premier League, I think, by a Russian chap, and then they bought. I think he bought out about 49%. Went to, and then the deadline come for the additional 51%, and it turned out that he didn't have the money, and his dad did, but his dad wasn't going to put the rest of the money in. So there's been nightmare situations throughout the leagues. I'm not. I don't know the background of Newcastle's owners, and I say, nobody can judge unless they definitely know 100% the background of them, and that's my view on things.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair comment. Fair comment. I could go through this comments here. I got quite a few. Danuja definitely had a great season for Villarreal. It's a shame he couldn't steer at Bournemouth, but this happens in football. Also, congrats for promotion. Scotty Parker is fantastic. That's a mistake. Excuse me. If Bournemouth start next season, Bill needs to play well. Always look good. Well, I like Billen, by the way. I think he's a good player, by the way. And as long as it's not next to McLaren, I'm proud to support him. That's did Mings not play left back? Yes, he did. And big up to Paul, by the way. Big up to Sennish as well. Bournemouth could be a good loan alliance club. And I think I'll double what I'm going to have to do in this one. I'm going to come out of this one, Craig, and go back in the game because I'll double clicked it, by the way. Is that all right? Give us 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry about that. It's just absolutely.
That's all right, mate.
I'm
No
sorry.
problem.
It's just StreamYard again. StreamYard again. It's a joke. It really, really is. And big up to Annie again. Craig, what are your overriding thoughts on Parker? I've been left unconvinced both times he's been promoted to Fulham and Bournemouth. He has a ridiculous squad, AC Bournemouth, and scraped over the line. Thank you.
If you had asked me this after our game against Peterborough, against Reading, in that run then, I would have said, yeah, I'm unconvinced. I think what Parker has done right is during that running, we had the toughest running of all the teams around us. We had Forest to play, we had Sheffield United, we had Middlesbrough, we had Fulham, we had Millwall that was chomping to get in there as well. We didn't really have any of the teams down the bottom end of the league, and I think that's where we've struggled. Is the teams, the Peterboroughs, the Readings, the Derbys, Preston North End, we never seem to beat. I think he's done a good job when coming up against better sides. And I think it's because they play football, because they're doing the right things. Against Forest, for example, Forest are a very good footballing side.
Yeah.
And, we controlled the game after that, first 5 minutes, which was a little bit edgy. I know Sam Surridge hit the crossbar. We controlled that game. And if you do get a chance to watch it, have a watch of his actual halftime team talk. It's brilliant. The passion that's in it, the drive, the way the players respond to that as well. The celebrations after are amazing. I think, I think he's a decent manager. Has he got a plan B? I don't think he did earlier in the season. I think, against Reading, that game was terrible in the second half. In fact, I think we went backwards because we could have been 4 or 5-0 up. They weren't very good. And then he made some changes which didn't really make sense and ended up drawing 1-1. In that Forest game, though, he did show his plan B. And we was looking for that goal, but on Kiefer Moore, and that changed it up. It was a target man. It was somebody to stand alongside Solanke, and it worked. It worked, and I think he's getting there. Earlier in the season, I would have said, yeah, I completely agree with the Bristol City fan, but now I would say it'd be interesting to see what he does this time round, rather than his time at Fulham. I think he'll probably do a lot better with us.
Absolutely, totally agree with you. Good answer. That's a good question, Addy, by the way. Joshua and Usyk taking place in Saudi. Where's the press giving them the same grief they gave us, Toon fans? We don't choose our owners. We just love our club. You know what it is, Rogo? I'll clap into that, my
Yep.
guy, because that is absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for that comment. Yeah, and you also got a Marco around the Grand Prix last week. Now it's been said about that, yeah. And the Saudi boxing Joshua fought before. Now it's been said about that as well. The Grand Prix, now it's been said, yeah. Football, the Coppa Italia, now it's been said about that as well, yeah. But for Newcastle United, we get absolutely Leobad sort of thing, and that is it. But there you go. Birmingham guy was Carlton Young, absolute fraud, got done for money laundering. Quite rightly so. Longest 30 seconds ever. Craig, it's your moment to shine.
Yep.
Well, I don't know what that means, but on the second one it means. I'm gonna wrap this up in a bit, by the way, because I've gone over an hour, by the way. Craig's moments to shine. Craig, sing a song while we wait. You can't say this live. You won't be doing it. Yeah.
To be honest, I was just sat there. I was thinking, what's going to be the next question? So,
hey, feel free to not beat us. So, blessing. Big up to Luca, by the way. I've just subbed John Richard. Thank you very much indeed, my guy. I really appreciate that, man. Look, I mean, show the love to Richard, by the way. Great guy, great guy. Luca, you should 100% collab with Craig. Big Bournemouth fan. We talk about Ramsdale. He was at Bournemouth, mate. What do you think of Aaron Ramsdale at your club?
oh, he was another goalkeeper who, as soon as he got the main, the number 1 jersey, I thought, well, this could go either way. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. In fact, at the end of the season prior to that, we had Mark Travers played against Spurs and had an absolute blinder. And I mean, it was an absolute blinder. And then Aaron Ramsdale come in, and I thought, I thought Travers was going to start, who is now our goalkeeper, of course.
Yeah.
And Ramsdale was fantastic. He's a really, really nice, down-to-earth chap who, commands his area. I'm confident that he'll take Pickford's shirt. Yeah. I think he'll take Pickford's shirt. I do.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he will, I mean, I'll rate him better than Pickford, by the way. Let's be real. I mean, Ramsdale's still got rough edges on there, by the way. But at the end of the day, he's a great shot stopper. And he can actually play out the ball out from the back. He gets away with it a lot. But, hey, under an Arsenal team, he gets away with it a lot. But great keeper. And a couple of years' time, he'd be world class. He'd definitely be world class. And big up to Mega's Yard. Eddie Howe would be the first English manager to win the Premier League. Come on, you mags. Mega, please hit the subscribe button, please, mate. It's your first time on my chat. Please hit the subscribe button. If you can do that, that will be amazing. Thank you so much indeed. And I'll do regular content as well, especially live ones. So, I mean, I was going to say, just a couple more questions as well before I let you go. Tell the viewers again where Newcastle United is going to be finishing.
I think you'll finish third.
Okay. Bournemouth?
I've predicted us for 15th. To be honest, I got a bit of a stick for my prediction, mainly from Leeds fans, because they thought I honestly think they're going to finish bottom of the league. I
saw that.
I don't like Leeds anyway, so that influenced the decision. I didn't get any grief from Southampton fans this time. That was unusual. But personally, I think Eddie will make those signings. I think they'll be sensible. I think that he will bring in backup players who are a little bit older but have that knowledge. It'll be a good mix. But he'll focus on the players and the positions that he needs to improve, and I think that's why you'll get there. I think winning the league at this moment in time, I think that that Man City and Liverpool, I think they're going to be very difficult to break for any team, including the likes of Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea. I think those two are going to be two of the best teams in the world at this moment in time. And I think they're both going to be really, really difficult to break. But there's no reason why Newcastle can't be best of the rest. Personally, if you played Man United first game of the season, give it, 5 years ago, I would have said, it's going to be Man United all day long.
Yeah.
But now, I'm not so sure. I think Eddie has got plans, and I think he will meet the signings, which will. I think the gap's already closed with those teams, like
I
the
agree.
Arsenals, the Man Uniteds, the Chelseas. I think it will take something quite special to break into that top two. I think that is going to be the difficult thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just got a couple more comments before we wrap up. Is there any talks of Bournemouth expanding the Fatality Stadium? Still seems tiny compared to the rest of the Premier League. And do people struggle to get tickets for the home game? Oh, the horse 11,000, by the way.
Yeah, John, this is going to be a long answer. The honest answer is we can't, or we shouldn't at this moment in time. The reason being is when we were in financial trouble,
Yeah.
it was actually sold to a company called Structure Dean, and that was to actually raise, I think it was about 7 million for the club, which stopped the club going under. Since the rise, what we've been doing is renting it a very, very small amount from Structure Dean until we got to the Premier League. I believe the club have inquired about buying the ground back, but of course, Structure Dean do want a lot more than the 7 million than they actually gave the club in the first place. Inflation and, of course, the club standing.
Yeah.
The contract with Structure Dean is meant to run out in 2030. So the closer we get to that point, the more the grip will be tightened, because the good thing is, and this is going way back into history, the actual ground was actually sold to the club, or given to the club really, by a Lord Dean, which is why it's called Dean Court. It was given to the club for the sole reasons of playing football, and that is still written in there now. It can't be sold off by Structure Dean to build a Asda or a Tesco's. It has to be there for footballing purposes. Now, whether or not we can actually then sell, effectively buy Structure Dean out and then build another ground, because Kings Park has been actually earmarked as a potential place for a new ground. I'm not sure, but I believe we could turn the current ground into a car park for the football ground, which would be a lot bigger. Personally, what I would like to see, I would actually like us to keep Dean Court, but fill in the corners. And the reason being is because it's an old traditional ground. It's a great place to watch football. I think the Ted Shed, as we call it, is a temporary stand that has to be taken down after a certain point anyway, or planning permission. If we can get that signed into a contract with Structure Dean that we can buy the ground back after a period of time, that would be probably the first stand that we could actually build up and build into something a lot better, and then work on the rest of the stands. But personally, new ground, shiny bowl, it all sounds very nice. It all sounds very Southampton, Reading, Brighton. We don't want that. We don't want to be like those three teams, because they're soulless bowls that have nothing. We want to build Dean Court up a bit like St James's Park.
Fill all the corners there.
Yeah, fill in all the corners, build the stadium up. St James's Park was a traditional stadium, and it's gradually built up, but that's still that feeling and still that atmosphere is there from the old ground, which you wouldn't get at a new ground like St Mary's and Medeski, Falmer.
It's the atmosphere.
Exactly.
The atmosphere, not good. But fair enough. I mean, because that Vitality Dean's Court, cool. That is fantastic, and I don't blame you. Just keep it tradition. I don't mind tradition, by the way. And just up to you there, Craig, mate. It's just up to your channel, by the way.
Cheers, Noel.
Big up, Medad stuck at the airport. I heard that one, by the way. Shocking, by the way. Interesting that. Was always thinking lazy buggers. Why has never got expanded much like Fulham did recently, for example. Yeah, I mean, they just want to stay where they at, though, Foxy, and I can see what you mean, but A lot of people say that they want to move stadium sort of thing. Me personally, I don't want my stadium to be moved. But the bottom line is, if it does get moved to a different stadium, and I've got to get behind the owners on that sort of thing. I know it's going to be sad leaving St James's Park. However, you just got to go with the times. Look at Arsenal, move stadium. Spurs didn't go far away, yeah? And West Ham moved as well. So it is what it is. But I want my stadium to be at St James's Park, by the way. And big up to Musical Magpies. Hope you're okay. Eddie Howe deserves the opportunity to work with some top players. He will do fantastic, 110%. And just a last quick one as well. Does Eddie Howe deserve a new contract? Because there's been talks of him getting a new deal.
Oh, most definitely. I think it would be mad if Newcastle didn't give him a new contract. I think he's got a project like he did at Dean Court. All you need to do is look at where he took us. We were 91st in the league, in the whole football pyramid when Eddie Howe took over. And, look at where he got us. He got us up to 9th in his second season. Everybody was going on about second season syndrome. It didn't apply to Eddie Howe. He brought in Jack Wilshere. He even got the best out of Jack Wilshere for that season. Brought in Nathan Ake, and the rest is history. He's got a project. To go from 91st to 9th in such a short space of time. I'm thinking now that was 2009. Which he managed to keep us up. That second season in the Premier League, we finished, 9th. That was 2017. Okay, yeah, it's 8 years, but that's not a long time in football, considering that he spent pretty much, almost 2 years at Burnley as well.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, man, 100%, and he spoke sense as well. Around the question, would you say Hecky B as a back for Trevor? No, I wouldn't. I don't think he's that good. He ain't that good at all. Hecky B, not good enough for me. Nah. Saturday, I'm glad you mentioned Emirates. I absolutely hate it. I miss Highbury all the time. Yeah, I mean, that atmosphere at Highbury is fantastic. Let's be honest, a lot of these clubs lose something when they leave home. Arsenal better at Highbury. West Ham only now has adapted to the London Stadium. Southampton, the Dale. Those away games were difficult. Absolutely. Totally agree. And big up to Static again. Clear, I love your stadium. I prefer old-fashioned stadiums, to be honest. It'd be nice if it could be close to 20,000 capacity. I guess we will see what happens. And
I think it could. I think it could be. It is a case of it's effectively rented by the club at the moment. The question is would you build an extension on a rented property? No, you wouldn't, because you just get more money for the landlords, and that's the situation Bournemouth find themselves in. Could it happen? Yeah, that ground could get up to 20,000. All we would need to do, and I think we would do it in stages, fill in the corners, definitely knock down the current Ted shed and build that up into a proper stand. And then I think, we'd work on the other stands around the stadium. So the Steve Fletcher stand, the main stand, we would gradually build it over a number of seasons. It'd probably be the most cost-effective way of doing it as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, we could get it up to 20,000, and it would still have that nice atmosphere and wouldn't be like a Falmer or St Mary's.
I'll agree with you, man. I'll agree with you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Vitality Stadium. It looks a fantastic stadium. Atmosphere sounds fantastic. Never been, but I think it's fantastic. Big up to Musical. How we definitely need to get rid of a number of players. Who do you think How we must get rid of this season? Too many to mention, mate. Usual suspects, by the way. Usual suspects like Kieran Club, Federico Fernandez, Jamal Lascelles, Dwight Gale, Isaac Hayden, yeah. Matt Ritchie, Paul Dominic Stein, by the way, and Matt Longstaff as well. So we need to get rid of 10, mate. It's as simple as that. They're just aren't good enough for this club. How many goals are you expecting from Wilson next season? Well, it depends how many games he play, mate. Probably about 15 this season if he's fully fit. I'll get the best of ASM next season. For me personally, well, he's got one season left. He's got one season to fix up. If he doesn't fix up, with better players around him, then you need to look at the situation. But I'm a fan of ASM, by the way. I do like him. I do really like him. But the abuse he gets is quite unfair at times. But like I said, he needs to do one or two things right. I'm expecting at least 15 from Wilson next season. That's in Larry. And Frank Burn said, no, Frank, please hit the subscribe button, mate. I believe it's your first time on my channel. If you hit the subscribe button, please, it helps us out a lot. Thanks so much indeed. So we're going to wrap it up there, by the way. Been there for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And what a fantastic show tonight. And Craig, did you enjoy coming on my show tonight?
Oh yeah, most definitely, mate. And you know, by all means, I've got a video with you coming out tomorrow as well, haven't I? So yeah, it's quite interesting, you know, to actually hear your thoughts on how Eddie's transformed things from the Bruce days.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's absolute pleasure and absolutely really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, mate.
You're welcome. Don't go away yet. I will be backstage, by the way. Yeah, and can you please tell us where you can find you on your socials? Before I do that, got from Foxy as well. What realistic players would Craig take from us, ourselves or Gale?
I think Dwight Gale wouldn't be a bad signing, considering I think we need somebody up front. Is he the greatest forward in the world? No, most definitely not. But at the same time, I think, you know, he would be another option for us. We've got the target man in Kiefer Moore. He's quite slow. We've got Dominic Solanke, who is unselfish, knows where the goal is. But I think Dwight Gale would be a decent signing for us if we can sign him on the cheap. The other player I would, you know, I think probably for nostalgia reasons more than anything, Matt Ritchie. You know, absolutely love Matt Ritchie to bits. You know what he did with this club. You know, do I think that he's not the same player now? He is 32, 33, I believe.
Yeah.
And yeah,
33, I think he is. Yeah, 33.
Nostalgia might be getting the better of me, but you know, he might be an option. But I would probably take him on loan, to be fair. You know, if we can get him on loan. I don't know how long he's got left on his contract, but yeah, you know, he would be decent backup again.
Yeah,
for Ryan Christie.
Brilliant stuff. Just going to wrap up this comments as well. I mean, you can have them, by the way. Great show, John. Great guest. Best of luck to Bournemouth for next season. Hasta Luca Amigas. That means all the best. Craig Shaw, Craig, hope to see you again. So far, it's Craig. Hope then. Great show, my guy. Thanks so much indeed. Big up to Brian again, John 5, John Hart. We'll sell wood if we get a new striker in. Let's hope that is the case. And I'm going to read that one as well. What's happened to us on the show? That's it, mate, because I'm going to have a word sort of thing as well. There's no problems at all. And last but not least, and David, thank you so much for becoming a member, my guy. I really appreciate that. And 99p. If you want to join, be a member, 99p. I think it's the 44th one. I need 6 more before I can run a competition. Me and Macy's going to run it, by the way. And big up to Restart ASM if you get a good bid for him. Well, that's down to Eddie as well. If he wants to sell him, cool, but we'll just see. And that's it. I mean, can you tell us where you can find you on the socials, please, Craig? Don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So I run a channel called Up the Cherries in All Departments. If you type in UTCIAD on YouTube, it will pop up. It is the Bournemouth logo with the cherries on top. We've got interviews with Steve Cook, Steve Fletcher, Harry Redknapp. We've had opposition preview shows from last season as well. Stefan Rodri, come on. Dave's coaches from Gavin and Stacey. So loads of really, really good guests as well. So, and you can also find us on Twitter, Instagram as well. And if anybody's ever interested in coming on the show, please do drop me a message. My Twitter handle is Craig Beasley, BEAZLEY 85. You know, by all means, drop me a message, and you know, I'll be more than happy to have you on.
Big up. Thank you so much indeed. I'm definitely going to come on your show. Can come on mine on the pre-games, pre-match next season. Definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely, mate.
10%. I'll get you on as well. And get a Newcastle fan joining in as well. So that'll be either Friday night or whenever it's going to kick off, a day or two before we kick off. So you're definitely in, my guy. And what's else on the show? And we'll say ASM, we read that. smash the likes in. Also, could you please like, subscribe, and also, like David has done, if you want to become a member, 99p, click on the join button. The link's on the top. And if you'd like to super chat, then click on the join button, not join button, on the $ as well. And all the links is in the description. Mine on all the links is in my description. If you want to follow and subscribe to Craig's channel on YouTube, Insta, or Twitter. So you got no excuses there. So do follow me on all those socials. Guys, I'm going to crack on, but thank you very much indeed, chat. If, like I said, like, share, like, subscribe. You know what to do. I should be back tomorrow or Sunday, one of the two. No, tomorrow. So I may do a Q&A session, by the way. I don't know yet. But listen, hang fire, mate. I could play the end intro. Thank you so much, people chat. Thanks for 72 people watch live as well. Down to 32. Thank you so much indeed. I shall see you very soon. Watch what you're doing. Ta.